Hello everybody, welcome back to another Lost PA Speedways video. We are currently riding in on Pennsylvania Route 462, which used to be part of Route 30 across the United States. This is the Lincoln Highway, and we are coming straight from the last racetrack that we covered, which was about, I don't know, what, 2 or 3 miles behind me. And we're about to come in and turn right into a park that used to have a racetrack of its own inside of it. This is Maple Grove Park, not to be confused with Maple Grove Raceway, which they still use for drag racing to this day. But we're gonna go explore and check out one of Lancaster area's other speedways. Located along Route 462 along the Lincoln Highway, you can find the nice little Maple Grove Park with a soccer field and a community building for locals to use. If we could turn back the clock, you would find this park to have a football field inside of an oddly shaped dirt oval, which was referred to as Maple Grove Speedway. Don't confuse this with Maple Grove Dragway, which sits in the Reading area and is still in operation today. This track is not associated with or physically near that one. This racetrack was first used in May of 1935, and the racing was not for automobiles, but rather motorcycles. At that time, it would not have been a dedicated racing surface. It had a standard corner on the north side with a long third turn into a sharp 90-degree final corner on the south side of the racetrack. This was encircling the football field, which hosted a semi-pro team for the city of Lancaster. This race must have gone well and been popular because in July of the following year, the consistent racing began at this track. Maple Grove Speedway hosted midget racing, which makes sense for the size of the track. Races in 1936 were affiliated with the National Midget Racing Association, which was a national-level series of midget races across the country. It is unconfirmed but believed that the modern-day NMRA is the continuation of this series. Maple Grove Speedway has 5 events listed from 1936, which were held on Thursday nights. In 1937, the racing continued independently of the NMRA. It appears that the track ran its season from midsummer into the fall and switched to running on Fridays. 1938 was more of the same, with some victories going to one of the forefathers of local racing in central Pennsylvania, Mark Light. This was the last season of regular racing on the property. In July of 1940, a one-off midget race was held again at Maple Grove Speedway, won by Bill Holmes, who was an accomplished midgets racer of the time. The last race held at this track was another one-off event all the way into the future in July of 1951, assuming that this was also a midget race. After this, the track was left in the park for a while before getting a facelift to be a walking track. This happened sometimes in the 70s. And then in the 90s, it was covered with grass to look as it does today, with a soccer field for the community to use. At first glance, it looks like a standard community park, but because the property was preserved this way, it makes it easy for us to stop by, check out, and see the remains. Okay, we're pulling in now, and as I've stated in the video, you can see they use this area for soccer. And there's some nice trees, and basically from what I've seen on my video, or what I've seen in the pictures, my historic aerials, basically that tree line is the back side of the racetrack. So we're gonna go walk out into the park because it's a public park and I'm allowed to do that, so I'm gonna go do that, and we'll just take a little walk along the track line. And we begin our walk now from what would have been about the start-finish line. So this was the parking here, the gravel parking, is leading down what was the front straightaway, and then the turns 1 and 2 would have been fairly conventional oval corners, and they basically go in and follow the tree line, and then back to that tree line, and then there's sort of a wider turn 3 and a sharp turn 4, and we'll go over to where the sharp turn 4 is a swing set now, but this would have been we're facing north side, and this tree line starts to hug where the racetrack was. Now going back down the back straightaway, I'm going to be probably the last person in the history of this racetrack to go around the track. But the middle was a semi-pro football team, and then around the outside of it was where they had the dirt. And I guess you can kind of tell from the tree line here that I'm getting to the end of the back straightaway where it's about straight with the trees, and then this is into where turn 3 started, which you can still nicely see there's a curvature to. The interesting thing about this back area is this little creek down here, which is far enough away, I guess, but it would be interesting to know if anybody ever went out and down over there in a car. It's not deep, but it's still fun when cars go into the water. Anyway, I'm running the high side. I'm ripping the lip of turn 3 right now, and then you would turn and come back, and then right where the space starts to get to these swings is where turn 4 was, that sharper edge as you saw, and then you'd come here, and then you'd pretty much here you'd be turning back and back onto the front stretch. And that is this episode of Pennsylvania's Lost Speedways, Maple Grove Park, which used to have Maple Grove Speedway inside of it, and now it just quaintly sits here on the outskirts of western Lancaster. People can come enjoy it and still have a little bit of fun, even though we can't have the conventional fun that we like having with race cars on this channel, but alas, oh well. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the series, and we'll see you guys next time for another Lost Speedway.